stage right now, the Chief Relationship Officer of Xero, Amy Vedder.
Good morning, everybody. That was so nice. Well, first off, I want everyone to give a big round of applause to Xero for purchasing my book for all of you to have after the show today. So this has been a really exciting year putting together this book. It's published by Wiley. And it's really been a lifetime of work really putting together how to put this kind of practice together. And over the years at Xero, I have done a few keynotes, and this is really a pinnacle talk for me to do today. It's near and dear to my heart. And you can go on YouTube and see these other two from prior XEROCONs, but it's really the lead up to what we're going to discuss this morning. And it's about becoming a cherished advisor. But if you don't put the technology in place and you don't figure out all of your staffing and how you find your purpose as a firm, this part is the hard part. And you've really got to start freeing up your time to get there. So the book will help you as well. But where I'm going to start the conversation today is on advisory services. And before I begin, I'm going to talk about why this is so important to me. And it's a personal story of mine, and it's about growing up with my mother, who is a small business owner. And she owned maid services in 3 different cities. And I worked in her business from a very young age. Now, my mom did not have an accounting background. She went to an accountant that would give her financial statements maybe 6 months, 9 months after the year was over. So she did the best that she could in understanding what was happening in our operations. Well, the business was doing great, and she ended up getting into another service line, which was the construction cleanup industry, which for a while, it felt like she was printing money. So there was so much business there, but for those of you that deal in the construction industry, you know what that means is that those people are being paid on construction loans. What that also means is that you're getting paid behind as the vendor. And what happened during this time period was this day in 1987, for those of you that do remember with me, that everything crashed, and especially the construction industry. Now, I think back at this time, and that the fact that she did have an accountant involved that wasn't really guiding her, that was giving her financial statements, that was doing tax and compliance work, but never really talked to her about how do you manage your money in this type of work that you've gotten into. When it's good, it's great. When something like this happens, all the contracts stopped mid-construction. She had done her work and didn't get paid. So what do you do as a small business owner? You have 2 choices. Do I pay my payroll taxes, or do I pay my employees? And guess which she chose? Her employees. So guess what? The IRS was after us for years. We sold everything. And that included a house sale, where I had to watch people come into my bedroom and buy my furniture and buy all the things that I had grown up with and help guide them around that. And this is a really important thing because I want you to understand the face of your client, the face of their family, the face of all the people that depend on them. Because that is what we do. We help them understand the things that they don't understand. And when I was growing up, I would talk to different people that she worked with and networked with, and she would take me to trade show events from a very young age. And I would always ask, what should I do when I grow up? And they would say, become an accountant. Well, I never really reviewed that statement until I wrote this book. I sat back and wrote the intro, And I remembered all these people saying to me, if you have an accounting background, you will always know how to run a business. Now, stepping back now and thinking about that statement, there is something wrong with that statement. Yes, that's correct, that you always have the background to know how to run a business. What's wrong with that statement is that all these business owners thought that they had to go back to school for accounting in order to understand their business, which means that they weren't getting the advice that they should have been getting from their accountant. And I never thought about that before until I wrote it down. It is this opportunity we have with technology and this disruption that we have the opportunity when we talk about advisory, what it really means and how we can help a small business. Which brings us back to purpose. And I want you to think about when you became an accountant, why did you become an accountant? And I'm going to tell you 3 things that are popping into your head right now. Number 1, I liked math. Number 2, my father was a CPA. And number 3, this was a secure and safe profession to be in. But we actually have clients to serve, and that needs to be our purpose. We need to get back to thinking about why is it that we go to work every day, and how do we affect our clients in a different way? And that takes work to build those skills. Now, with all this automation, it frees up this time. It gives us this space to actually step back from our business and start to think about it. But with that, it creates fear. It creates fear in our staff. It creates fear with our partners. Because all of this is new. And when we keep being told about advisory services, it's this, what is that? We didn't actually go to school for that. We went to school and we learned tax. We went to school and we went for audit. But advisory services is just this open whole area. So our focus today is about that. Now, one thing that's really important to think about is the difference between what clients want from us and what we think clients want from us. Because a lot of times my conversations with accountants is, well, I'm not sure my clients want that. But we don't necessarily ask, and typically they're asking us questions about the business that we don't necessarily know the answer off right away. So we might be afraid to actually open ourselves up for these questions. Instead, when I talk to accountants, these are the things that they're concerned about. That are mostly deadline-driven, compliance-driven, but not necessarily about what makes that business tick. How do they stay open? How do they make sure that their cash flow is okay? And when I went about really writing this book, I stepped back to think about how I want to determine, and that's why I called it Cherished Advisor. I spent a lot of time thinking about this term that's kind of pushed on all of us about this trusted advisor. And something about trusted just didn't seem like the right definition to me. And so when I looked up the definition of trusted, it means honest and it means sincere. Is that something to strive for? Shouldn't we just be that? Is that really what our clients are going? They expect you, as their accountant or bookkeeper, to be honest and sincere. Being cherished is a whole different aspirational level. What that means is that you're treasured. That when they are coming to you for work and they're spending money with you, it is money that they can't imagine not spending. I had a client once that really talked about this to me when in 2006, when I had my business, when things were rough again in the industry, and some of us suffered through that in our businesses. And this is really about how you make someone feel, not the things that you say. And a lot of times, I talk about this as elevator talk by clients, that they go and visit their accountant, and their accountant just sits there and talks to them like, here's what you did last year, here's your financials, might show them some charts and graphs, and then the client goes, and then their partners walk away, go in the elevator, turn to each other. Did you understand a thing she said? No. Did you understand a thing she said? No. So what we say, we need to step back and think about, did we actually give the experience that we wanted to give? Did we actually give the result that we wanted to provide? And this is our opportunity to do that. And what it takes is avoiding autopilot. Is that we have gone about our businesses the same way over and over and over. And when we talk about changing technology, it's not about doing our business the exact same way again. It's actually giving us this opportunity to step back and think about, how do we actually make these relationships work with our clients? And how do we give good client service? And we don't spend enough time thinking about all the touch points that happen in our business that allow for customer service and interactions. So we're going to talk about 3 areas of that. The first is how we develop these soft skills and what they are. The second is building that value in the customer relationship. And then we're going to define what that client experience actually looks like. So first, let's just define soft skills so we're all level set. And these are skills that we have that are personal attributes that we have to create a harmonious relationship. Whoop. And it's important that we think about how we actually communicate and respond to things with our clients. Now, there's different areas of that, and we need to think about how we do that training in our practice so that different people are getting trained at different times in these different areas. And the first is being responsive. Now, I think a lot of times we're not responsive because we're worried if we don't have the answer right away, that's a problem. And our clients do not expect us to be Google. What they do expect us to be is responsive. That they know that when they ask you a question, you will get back to them in the next day, 2 days, but in a short time period with an answer. It does not mean that you have to be an expert right away. So it's understanding how to uncover those things that your client needs and come back and be responsive with them so that they get the answers that they need. Collaboration. We've talked about how you do collaboration and teamwork with the people that you work with in your practices. And it also takes collaboration with your clients. That it's not just about you telling them, you're creating a relationship of mutual respect. That you respect their skills and the expertise that they have to give to you, but which drives into influence. So when a customer comes to you with a question, a lot of times you already know the answer. But that's not always the best way to go about it. Influence is your power. It's how you create that conversation to influence the outcome that you want. And that's really how you create that mutual relationship and collaboration with your client. Problem solving. Making sure that you're asking the right questions, and this is a skill on its own, and where you go for training and learn all the ways you can question to make sure that you uncover the things that are underlying the issues that your client is saying. What your client is saying is typically not the problem. They think it's the problem until you start diving deeper and find out and start doing that problem solving. Leadership. Leadership is what you provide in all of this by giving your clients a place that they know that they are dealing with someone with expertise, that you are a safe place to go. And lastly is project management. This is another skill that's really important as you drive this different technology into your practices, different ways you collaborate with clients and your teams, that you need to figure out how you're going to monitor quality assurance, how you're going to project manage each of those projects so that you know where they stand and you know that you're delivering on what you promised. Now, part of this is leading by example. There is no rule book for advisory services. There is grooming for advisory services. And you need to take the time to allow your staff to shadow you, to hear the questions that a client asks you, to also be able to see how you respond and have those conversations after a meeting to say, oh, when they asked you that, how did you know to answer that way? So that they have an idea of how those conversations go. Too much, this is a black hole, and then someone's not ready to be able to deliver those services that you want them to deliver. The other thing is making sure that you are the one leading, hosting seminars, trainings, drawing people into your ecosystem. And it doesn't always mean it has to be on what you do. You can bring the experts in-house. So if you are, for instance, specializing in the construction industry, you could be bringing in general contractors to talk about issues that are issues for your clients. It doesn't always have to be about accounting, but it creates this central place that you are the person that organizes this and drives the expertise through your practice. The other thing is mentorship. Now, the thing with mentorship is a lot of firms have the term mentorship, or they're forced programs. Mentorship is something that needs to be available, that there needs to be an infrastructure for, but that people can pick and choose the mentors that are right for them at different stages of their career, or different times where you need someone that's opposite of you that can provide that, but that you're providing the tools and the learning for people to be mentors in those different relationships as they occur. Now, a lot of times the goals that are set each year are all about technical training. They're around accounting standards. They're around learning software, but they're not around learning these soft skills. They're not around the time that you're going to spend to teach people how to interact and uncover these issues. And this is the way that we're going to get better at this with our clients, is when they actually go in people's goals and they're measured, that these things are actually happening in your business. Shelley is one of our Xero advisors and is a case study in the book. And she talks about in the book how clients oftentimes come to you with problems, but that's not actually what their problem is. And if you don't learn how to question and uncover what they're actually saying and what's causing that problem, then you're not going to get to the root of it to be able to advise them. If you just go initially off of an email or something that they say, that is not the actual issue. It's all the intangible things that are happening in the business that you uncover when you're questioning people. The other thing is, dealing with the relationship piece of the clients that you work with. So I had a number of bookkeepers that worked for me when I had my practice. And I had a bookkeeper that had this awesome personality, but every time she did work, we were having to redo the work. And then I had this bookkeeper that was technically strong, but wouldn't talk to anybody. The clients always asked for the bookkeeper that had the personality. And the one that didn't, I would keep explaining, she's really good. You want to use her. And they didn't want to use her because she made them uncomfortable. So we put too little emphasis on the fact that it is really important how we make our clients feel and create that relationship and do training on that. We need to ask how their family's doing. We need to ask what's going on in their business, what they're struggling with. That is a little, outside of the accounting world, but it's what bonds us in that relationship. And when we think about how we build value in these relationships, we actually go through a number of areas that we need to create as a central place of becoming a treasured resource to our clients. So in order to become a treasured resource, we need to make sure that we are a central place for people to come to, that we are creating the thought leadership, that we are showing we have expertise in their industry. So again, this creates that leadership place that they know that we are central to being able to help them in their business. It's not just about the accounting that we know, it's that we go deep in their industry. When we have 25 clients that are construction clients, and we see the KPIs that show us what really matters in a construction business, when a new contractor comes on, you're able to tell them, this is what worked with my other clients in their industry. And they thought about these 3 things as well. It's really important to have those other areas, that you're showing that you create networking ability of meeting new people so that they can create those referrals for you, that you're creating that thought leadership on your blogs and so forth as well. So when you think about this, websites need to be thought out. Now, a lot of websites I go to might lead with product and not your services. Might lead about tax or write-up instead of what you actually provide a client. And it's important that you put yourself and your expertise first. That it's all about what you can provide to them, and also having those clients that are in their industry speaking to them as well of how you've helped them, how you've helped those clients, so that other clients can see how it will benefit them too. So having a thought out website, but also that it's agile enough for you to be able to keep completely enhance it all of the time as you have new content, so that your clients keep coming back to it. It's not a one-time stop when they're looking you up, that there's resources for them to go to. One of the ways to do that is incorporating your social media into your website. So instead of just having all of your different social outlets, how do you actually draw in all of those feeds into your website if they want to see the latest things you've been posting as an accounting practice? Also, taking the time to blog and to write. Now, it can sound easy to write, but for those of you that try to write, you know, like you think, oh, I'll just write this quick thing, and then it ends up taking an hour, 2 hours, you keep writing it, and so forth. If it is not your favorite thing to do, hire a copywriter. Have someone interview you, put your articles together, and then you can review it before they go out. But that way you keep creating content so that you're showing your expertise and you're putting that out in the industry. It doesn't always have to be you. It can be the people around you. Kenji is also a case study in the book, has a successful practice in Atlanta. And he talks about as well that on his website, his blog is not only them showing their expertise and the things that they do, but they also invite their clients to write guest posts as well of things that are important in their industry and post those as well. How do you make it interactive and current and things that matter to your customer base so they keep coming back to your website and seeing that the things that you're doing in your business? Now, the world is changing as far as what this means as far as a virtual relationship. We used to go and drive out to clients, and some of you still might be doing that, and you create that personal relationship because you're physically with them. But you need to think out what that customer experience is going to be like when it's virtual. How are you still going to see eyeballs? How are you still going to make that connection with them so there's a personal piece to the advisory relationship? It's not just, we need to talk about these 3 things and be done. You need to be there for their questions. You need to see their facial expressions so that they're not having that elevator talk, and you can see that they're confused and going, do you understand what I'm saying? Let me say it in a different way. That's what video technology does for you. And it's important to incorporate into your relationship so when you're having these conversations, you're thinking about it. Now, too many times we're not thinking about the complete customer experience. And again, I'm just going to ground us in the definition of customer experience. It's the entirety of the interactions with our clients. Now, when I talk to accounting firms and I ask them, what's your customer experience? What's it like for your clients? Well, they sign an engagement letter, and then I assign them to an accountant. Yeah, that's the experience. And then, they'll be good from there. That's not a customer experience. That's a sales process, but we need to think about all the different places that our customers interact with us. And it's really, really important we think about planning this out with this time so that we create all of the right interactions at the right time with our clients. So in the beginning, we're just have that awareness piece of just making sure people know we're out there, that we're an expert, and so forth. Then we go through discovery, but most importantly, there's relationship building that needs to happen. And we need to think about all the ways we can keep building on that relationship. And then have them be advocates for our practice because we're providing such a different experience than they've ever experienced with an accountant before. And lastly, it's the service that we provide as well. That it's not just one person they're interacting with in your accounting practice, that they're interacting with multiple people, and whoever they're interacting with, they're getting the best, most unique experience that they've ever had with an accountant. That they feel comfortable, that they feel like you're a safe place to be. So it's important because in all industries, this is an Oracle case study, but how important branding and customer experience is in all other types of corporations, we don't often think about it as much in professional services. But it truly is what a client doesn't want to leave us for if we are providing this. And so let's talk about building this client experience. So when we build a client experience, we need to step back and think about our mission statement. And let's not make it all the same again. So if you go on all accounting sites, you'll see very similar mission statements. We are there for our employees. We are there for our clients. We want to make our clients better. You need to take time and think about, what do you really stand for? What is your purpose? What is important to you? How do you want to help? How do you want to make an impact? And make sure that your staff, your team, everyone's around that, so that they all feel a part of that process. So when they're speaking to clients, they know their purpose, they know their brand, they understand that whole way that they're supposed to be delivering service as well. How are you going to design customer support? It can't just be one person. It needs to be thought out in your practice of how other people can help so everybody stays productive. How do you create different segments in your firm, whether that's verticals or different service lines, so that the right expertise is helping your clients at the right time? And thinking about that entire customer life cycle, not just when they're brought into the door, but when they've been with you 2 years, 5 years, 10 years. How do you keep making them feel special? And that's a really important thing when you think about how do you keep a client being an advocate for you. Not just that they stayed with you as a client, but that they go and tell somebody because they're having a different experience with you. And then the last piece of this is really important because you always need to think about, how do you continually assess this and redeploy? That it should never just be finite. It's all the things that you need to do along the way. So let's talk about first securing the client relationship. Now, when you are starting to speak to a prospect or someone who's been referred to you, you need to make sure that they are talking more than you, that you are asking a ton of questions, and when you are out of questions, you say, "Tell me more," so that you can keep uncovering what their underlying issues are so that you know how to best serve them. And when you go back to propose and when you go back to talk to clients about what you do for them, when you are speaking to their pain points, it's a totally different delivery. It's not sales. You are actually solving a need. You are solving their problems, and this is how you know you can do it. James Solomon's is a practice in Sydney, Australia. And it was important to me to bring in case studies from all over the world, because what I have found in my role at Xero, as I've met accountants from all different countries, is we are exactly the same, dealing with all the same issues of trying to run an accounting practice and move into this new realm of advisory services. And James talks about that in the sales process, in that discovery process, he's actually already onboarding a client. He's actually already telling them not only what their needs are, but if you're going to be a client of my firm, these are the things that you are going to need to understand about working with my team. It is a two-way street. And during that process, you need to make sure that what that client is going to make sense for you to bring into your business as well. Because that can be a disruptor as well, or if they're bad payers or whatever that is, that all of this is brought up front so it's not an issue later. Next is creating the advisory relationship. So it isn't just about meeting with them once, having one person talk to them. This is a team approach. This is collaboration. Using all the different skill sets in your practice, the people that do that data entry, the people that review the accounting to make sure that it's accurate, and then making sure that you set up weekly, bi-weekly, monthly meetings that you are talking to your clients. The way I look at value billing is like an insurance policy. Sometimes there's certain clients one month that need you more than others. And then the next month, that client's not going to need you and other clients need you more. That's what value billing does for you. That you don't have to worry about the minutes that you spend, that you're there for the clients that need you when they need you. And so making sure you have these built-in phone calls and commitments to meet with your clients is really important, so that there's always an ongoing conversation and you're uncovering things that they might not call you about because they think you don't have time maybe to answer that question. And it starts changing that relationship. Will is an accountant with us in the UK and has an advisory practice there. And the way he turns it is every time that he speaks to somebody, it's not about a billing opportunity, it's about the new opportunities he's going to uncover with that client as well. So many times there's upsell opportunities because you make those appointments where you uncover they want to buy a new building, or they're thinking about acquiring another business or starting a new service line, that if you hadn't already set up that meeting, you wouldn't know that and be able to enhance your advisory services even more. Now, going back to, I'm afraid to take that phone call because I might not know this, or I might not be an expert. I always told my staff it takes one time to be an expert. Someone asks you something that you didn't know before, you went and researched it, and then now you know it, and you've now become an expert. So that can be an expert in your practice. That can be an expert when a client calls that you've dealt with this before, but sharing this information amongst the team members is really important so that everybody's learning what you're learning with different clients as you go along. And then building a lasting relationship is important as well. So a lot of times, because clients stick with us, we just assume they're happy. That does not mean happiness. We need to make sure that we are asking our clients the questions, are you happy? What do you wish I was doing that I'm not doing? Sometimes that can be uncomfortable to ask that question, but if we don't ask that question, we don't cover all the different things that we need to work on as a practice to deliver the services that our clients want us to deliver. They actually teach us what to offer by asking the right questions along the way. And there's a whole cycle of different customer relationship management activities to think about and to train on in your practice. You need to think about what is your strategy in going about different segments, and how do you go about providing that advice? What is your marketing in those areas, and how do you speak to it? What does your customer service look like? Do you have a customer service team so that people get quick responses, that it's not always about getting an answer from the same person, that there are answers that they can get from your team as well? Additionally, what are you going to put out on social media and through writing that you do to show your expertise, the tech support that you're going to provide, and what is your sales process? How do you share the information that happens in that sales process so that other people in the practice know what you learned in that sales process and can deliver on those commitments, that it's documented and that it's put out throughout the practice? What's really important when we look at our client base is that 80% of our revenue comes from 20% of our clients. We waste a lot of time on clients that waste our time, that aren't the right fit for our practice, that we haven't actually thought about what we need to, how we need to segment, how we need to provide that expertise to them. And so if we don't have the right clients in there, then we're actually not making the right profitability for our own business and spending the right amount of time with the right people. We also have to think about which clients do we actually need to fire so that we can spend the right time with the right clients and be able to increase the revenue from that current client base because we're spending that time with them. So think about stepping back this time of year and actually looking at your client base and how you can get the most from them. Now, most importantly, don't forget your team. I talk to partners all the time when I bring up advisory services and I explain what it is, and they go, I don't have any staff that could do this. And it's just like a mother trying to teach a 16-year-old how to drive, right? There is so much fear of letting go, of actually teaching along the way, and it's really important that we think about how do we groom people all the way up to the point where they can be that advisor. So when you're thinking about how you're going to design your training programs, how are they going to go to sales calls with you? How are they going to go on client visits with you? How will they shadow each other and learn from each other so that you don't get to the place and say, I have no staff that are qualified to do this? You actually have to take time away from your business and spend time with your team that's non-billable in order to grow a bigger practice in the future. The other thing is allowing them to go to networking events, finding the networking events that are right for them. So this has been a great experience for me. Even I have a yoga studio besides my work at Xero, but I hired my 16-year-old to be working at the front desk. And he saw that we were using Facebook. And he was like, why are you using Facebook? And I'm like, well, that's where my customers are. And he's like, no, you should be on Snapchat. And I'm like, I don't even know what Snapchat is. But then I stepped back and I thought, you know what? I'm missing a whole segment because I don't know it. So I said, you're in charge of our Snapchat initiative. And allowed him to be able to create that for us, to teach everyone how to do it, and to address a market that we weren't in. So how can you actually listen to your team and say, where would you like to go? Where do you think we should go to find new clients and prospects and learn from them? I called something, because I had a lot of virtual workers at the time in my practice, I called it Coffee Talk. And I gave them a Starbucks gift card once a month, and I teamed them up from different places that they worked. And their job during that 30-minute call was to step back from the business, not do work, but talk to each other about what they thought we should be doing as a practice, and be able to propose that back each month in a firm meeting. It's really important to give your team the time to think about the business as well. They're with your clients every day, and it's important to hear what they think could be happening to improve the business as well, because they're just invested as well. We have many accounting practices that do lots of fun things, and I just wanted to bring this up that you can't forget the fun. That if we're not fun, we don't seem fun to our clients either. So it's important to incorporate that in, make happy employees so that they're happy with their customers. And the power of thank you. We talk about compensation, we talk about raises, we talk about way to incentivize people that way. But we don't necessarily talk about how important it is just to say thank you. It's really, really important to remember to do that, to look up from your work and thank the people around you that are working so hard to help these small businesses every day perform better in your business. Now, there's some simple ways you can transition some compliance right away. And we're right in the mode of tax season. So instead of delivering a tax return on paper, why not put it into Xero and show them that in a different way when you deliver the tax return this year? And say, these are some ratios that I brought up on the business performance dashboard that I saw happen in your business the last couple years when I put your tax returns in here. And have that conversation, and then it just leads into, well, yeah, I could provide these services on a monthly basis for you if you want to turn this into advisory services. We have an opportune time right now to start moving some clients into a new way of working with them, and it's an easy way to get started. So make sure that when you're working with, when you're thinking about having a plan, that you come back to your purpose. That you remember why you became an accountant. And when you go to put that mission statement together and your brand together, that you've incorporated that purpose into it. That it's not just about liking math, that's awesome, but it's about the impact we make on small businesses every day so that they can stay in business, that they don't go out of business, that they're able to pay back the loans to their family, that they're able to grow their businesses beyond that and do the work that they dreamed of doing. And that doesn't leave us out. So I end with this quote, that the ultimate goal is to become cherished, that we actually learn to interpret this data, that we figure out ways to think outside the compliance box, that we apply what we know into very tailored support tools for our clients, and we trust and delegate to our staff. And when we do this, we start creating a world that's actually exciting for us as well, not just our clients. And Michael, who is a partner in Eisner Amper, that is nearing the end of his career, has been spearheading with Aaron Burson a advisory services practice in a very large firm. And his quote is, in his 43rd year of being an accountant, he's having the most fun that he's ever had. And to not let this career pass you by, that not worried about taking these risks, that actually stepping back into something that might feel uncomfortable, but getting your toe into the water of it, taking the necessary steps to do that, and really enjoying what your practice could be, what it can do for your small clients. Thank you very much, everybody, and I hope you enjoy the book.